A couple others. We're talking a little quarterback on the big board today here on the NFL Draft Bibles All Access Show. I like, the quarterback conversation is always great because you grab a guy. Who is that Brock Purdy this year? Who is that guy that goes under the radar and then steps in and gets his opportunity? We're talking about Brock Purdy now, possibly being the starting quarterback over Trey Lance. Lance was the second pick of the draft, 3 picks to get him, and yet some people think Purdy might be the more productive player. So is there a guy that we're not talking about that's under the radar? I got a name. I want to hear yours.
I'll give you 2 for the price of 1. How about that? Malik Cunningham out of Louisville is somebody, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, both of whom I think have that dual threat capability. And DTR is a guy I've been impressed with for a very long time, comes from a great family, had a chance to get to know his mom, who's a professor there at UNLV. And I'll tell you what, this guy threw 59 miles per hour. Everybody talks about the Will Levis arm strength. Stetson Bennett and this guy right here, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, they have just as strong as an arm as Will Levis. And DTR is a guy, he started now 4 seasons under Chip Kelly there in UCLA. So again, we talk about the experience. You talk about Malik Cunningham. He was kind of anointed as the next Lamar Jackson down there in Louisville. Didn't quite pan out the way he hoped, but the flashes of brilliance have been there. He's a dual threat guy. He can beat you with his feet. He can beat you with the arm. We saw it out at Pasadena at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. He did well enough there, Mike, that the scouts wanted to see him over at the Senior Bowl, where, again, he also performed very well. I think Malik Cunningham's a guy that's maybe worked himself into the late round status.
I got my guy. He reminds me a little bit of Purdy. It's Clayton Tune at Houston, about the same size. Tune's about 2 inches taller, 6'3", 220. Very good decision maker in that Holgerson offense. Boom, boom, boom. Guy threw for over 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So a very good decision maker, but he can run. 546 yards rushing. He reminds me a little bit of Purdy when he was at Iowa State. Just a playmaker all over the field. Probably not going to be, someone anybody's talking about, but I think, late day 3, probably undrafted, maybe 7th round. If somebody gets hurt, maybe a couple guys, and he gets his shot, quick decision maker, guy who can tuck and run, Clayton Tune him up, baby. I think
I like it.
Keep an eye on for some of these under the radar quarterbacks, which, we got these 4 of the 4, Stroud, Young, Richardson, and Levis. Somebody is going to be a bust in that group. Who is it?
Well, I'm going to keep the audience anticipating and waiting because I want to follow up on your Clayton Tune point. Great call out of you. Clayton Tune, you talk about the mechanics, the fundamentals, the Rodney Dangerfield, shall I say, of this year's quarterback class, because all he does during his career at Houston, down at the Senior Bowl, all he does is go out and take care of business, Mike, but he never gets talked about. I think you're right. I think he is somewhere in that 6th round range. He's going to hear his name called. He's going to be somebody who brings stability to the quarterback room, not only as a performer, but also his mind. He's also like a coach on the field. We talk about all that experience that he brings to the table. So I agree. Clayton Tune is a guy flying way under the radar.
Yeah, and let me give you another name because, this is a guy who seemingly has been at Penn State for 10 years. Sean Clifford, he seems like that gamer type. Does he have a pro game?
We've seen Trace McSorley stick around. Now, Sean Clifford, not as athletic as a Trace McSorley, but I think a guy, again, that brings the smarts, the instincts, the awareness, the experience there at Penn State playing big-time football. Now, is he a starter potential candidate? Probably not, Mike, but is he a guy that, again, brings something to the quarterback room? Could he be an efficient backup? I believe so. He's going to be more of that short to intermediate guy that can work the middle of the field, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's just somewhat limited. You can't really ask a Sean Clifford to go deep downfield. He does have some athleticism, but isn't really like a dual threat of some of these other quarterbacks that we've discussed. So I think you're right. I think you're onto something with Sean Clifford. Not sure if he hears his name called during the draft, but certainly will be in a camp come August competing for a spot.